Justin, Mac, and Bruce on the CRT team.
Now, where were you living in early 2018?
I was living up in Uptown Dallas off McKinney Avenue.
Is anyone or
Just by myself.
did you have any pets, anything like that?
I did. I got my dog Ranger. He's a little Yorkie in 2018.
What part of 2018?
The beginning of 2018.
When your lease was about to be up, did you make a decision?
It feels so lovely to be here. What a beautiful. Get your girlfriend out.
I wanted to go somewhere else.
Why
I was a courtesy officer at the place in Uptown, and I decided I just got tired of responding to loud music calls, and we would constantly have to patrol the area, so I decided I didn't want to do that and just wanted some freedom.
Tell them a little more what a courtesy officer is.
Courtesy officer. Courtesy officer, we just respond to a loud music complaint that a resident.
Something from the trial.
It feels so lovely to be here.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to 30 Something Podcast with Marie, Drea, and Kamiko tonight. I am your host, Lisa, and I'm just here so that I don't get fired. I wanted to welcome you guys to my favorite month of the year, October, which is National Pizza Month. That's right, it's National Pizza Month. So you know what that means. That means go out and enjoy some pizza. Invite me to enjoy some pizza with you, or send me some pizza. I'm out of town this week, so I just wanted you guys to know I did not get fired and I did not quit, although I am too legit to quit. I look forward to seeing you guys next week at 8:30 something. Thanks for tuning in to 30 Something Podcast. Bye.
Hey y'all. Welcome back to 30 Something Podcast. Sorry we're late. And I have my co-host Drea with me.
Hi. How's everybody doing? Thank y'all for joining us.
So, today is October the 1st. And I'm sad to report that it's still hot outside. It's still, it had a breeze that was like 95 with breeze. So that almost felt like not so much like hell.
It's still hot to me. It's a Miko. Check the thing. Text. So today what we're going to be doing is first we're going to talk about the wonderful news that happened today after about 6 hours of jury deliberations. The jury came back in with a guilty verdict for the murder of Botham John, Amber Guyger. The trial went on for, what's today? So, like 6.5 days before they went to deliberations. So was it 6.5? Maybe.
But I heard too they were like
days.
this weekend they were having they were asking like additional questions.
Yeah, so
things like that.
So Saturday they did have a day where they took like one testimony and then they retired for the day, and that was only for like an hour, and then they came back. But so here's the deal with the murder conviction. So they're going to come back and tomorrow morning at 9:30, after the conviction was read, then the jury went in. They took the jury out, and then they came back at like 1 o'clock and started doing the sentencing hearing. And during the sentencing hearing, they did victim impact statements. And with the victim impact statements, his mother
took the stand. And I've been crying like off and on because I've been following the case like real heavy. Real heavy. Like I've literally watched every moment of this case. And so I've been crying like off and on throughout the entire process, right? But when his mom took the stand for like doing the victim impact statements, she went into so much detail about like his life. They showed so many photos, and she remained like so composed throughout the entire time that she was up there on the stand. And then they asked her. It was one photo that they asked her about, but then they asked her when did she learn of his murder, and that's when she kind of broke down. And after she did her statement, the sister came up, and that was really hard watching her as well. Cause she just said she really just wants her brother back, and so I'm very, very, very proud of Dallas County right now. Um, the prosecution did a phenomenal job from start to finish. I'm talking about from opening statement to closing statement. They dotted every I, they crossed every T throughout the entire process. They made sure that they dispelled like any type of defense that she had. Um, I felt like her lawyers, and then it could be me being partial, but I mean, you see good lawyering, then you see bad lawyering, right? And so I kind of felt like her lawyers weren't that great, but in retrospect, I feel like she didn't really give them much to work with. And so I am like so happy. Like
I still think
I screamed.
I feel like I still think they were bad lawyers. Like to me, whether she's guilty or not, your job is to get her off. And the way that they were going about it, like they chose all the wrong things, even to try to push that whole stand your ground kind of, or what was it? The
castle doctrine.
Yeah, the castle doctrine, which did not apply because technically it would be the person living in their home. A burglar comes in, that's not your home.
Right.
Therefore, but it's like you guys just like, really? Did you think about this?
And that was one thing that I wanted to talk about because social media was on fire talking about the judge who worked the hell out of that courtroom during the case. Hello, Auntie Tammy Kemp. She was up there. Her back was hurting today. She couldn't take no more. She was so sick of them.
So I'm sick of it. Like she even took like just take
she
this
did.
shit.
She got up stretching her back and everything. I said they just don't want ain't out. But she worked the hell out of that courtroom. She dismissed a lot of testimony that would have swayed the jury into making a decision. She was really spot on, and a lot of people, a lot of us was very upset about her allowing the castle doctrine into the jury instructions. But here's the thing: whenever the judge is thorough in instructions, it minimizes chances of a verdict being overturned in appellate court. So she has to be as thorough as possible, so whatever judgment comes back will stand. And so what you don't want is to get a conviction and just for her to lawyer up or get a better lawyer
and then do an appeal.
Who does an appeal and overturns her conviction. That's what we don't want. We don't want to win and then turn around and lose.
Exactly.
So I felt like if we kind of had like some better understanding as to what was going on there, then I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like we're being really cynical about the whole thing. People saying she's only going to get 5 years, but I really feel like in this.
Maybe she got manslaughter, she would have got 5 years. But murder, that's definitely gonna carry something a little heavier.
Right. And she, the thing is that this case was so open and shut, right? Like she was gonna be found guilty of something regardless of what happened, because what you cannot do is feel like you can be afraid enough to walk in somebody's house and kill them mistakenly. It's never okay to murder anyone. And that was the message that Dallas County sent. You have 5 Black women on the jury, and I don't know their names, but shout out to them 5 Black women that was on the jury, because I know in my heart of hearts that they sat in that jury room, and they looked at each other and they nodded, and they said, "We ain't leaving here until we get us a murder conviction, or we're gonna have a hung jury." Point blank, period. So Black women always holding it down. So shout out to them. But so tomorrow starts the sentencing hearing at 9:30. So of course I'll be tuned in watching that, and hopefully they can, because they pulled some old text messages that she had and some stuff that she posted on Pinterest that was like completely unsavory, racist type of remarks that she made that is not going to help her case at all. And also, you have to include the fact that yes, she did murder him, but he also died because in ultimately he died because she failed to render aid. Like she didn't do any. I don't care about her statement saying she did one-handed CPR. I don't even know what the hell that is. What the fuck is one-handed CPR?
Well, in the middle of sexting, she was like, "I only had one hand free."
Right, and so I was really just blown away about how self-absorbed somebody can be when they are in the dead ass wrong. Right, like you have accidentally walked into this man's house, you've murdered him, and then you went after you didn't murder at first. He was dead. You shot him, right, and the bullet hit him in multiple places. It's a hollow tip. So you made you didn't even think about trying to help him. Like you didn't think about it. You were absolutely clean. There wasn't a blood drop. There wasn't nothing on you. The on the 911 call, which was stupid for you to make because you had your radio on. You had your radio. The police would have been there in half the time that it takes for them to get when you call 911. But you weren't smart, right?
But now you're a civilian.
Right.
Like first she walked in like she the police.
Right.
Now she a civilian.
Right.
She gonna dial 911.
And so since you dumb and you call 911, your entire phone conversation is now being recorded, right? So you can hear her texting. You can hear the breaks. You can hear her saying, "I thought I was in my apartment." You can hear her not doing shit for him, like during the whole call. And so it's like, okay, well, for 19 entire minutes, you did not try to render aid to him at all, not even a little bit. And so I feel like that's going to be held against her during the sentencing hearing, and it really should be. And this case has really set a precedent, I think, for the entire United States that. Especially in Dallas County,
you will be tried and can be convicted. You're
going to have to think twice about pulling that trigger and make sure that you are making a sound decision when you pull that trigger. It's a lot of responsibility that comes along with owning a gun, period.
Exactly.
But on top of that, you being a police officer, there's an expectation that comes along with that responsibility in having that gun. Like you don't get to.
I would almost think they should be held to a higher standard due to their education, due to their training.
But they're not.
Exactly. So this definitely, I feel like, definitely sets precedent.
Yeah. So I'm. Oh yeah. So we got a clip of Auntie Tammy reading the verdict, and we're gonna let y'all watch that.
The jury having reached a verdict, Ms. Guyger and your team, would you please stand? We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Amber Guyger, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment. No outburst. And it is signed by the presiding juror, who is juror number 11. Mr. Rogers, would you like to have the jury poll? All right. You may be seated, Ms. Guyger. We're going to take a break. You all will have a long lunch break today, and we will resume court at 1 p.m. Okay?
All right.
Okay. Marie. And I'm joking.
The funny part is I catch us because we look up when the camera's there.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so we're back, and also, and now we have Miss Karletha Cook with us. I don't know if you guys saw our post that we put up in honor of National Domestic Violence Month. We have Miss Karletha Cook here, and she is going to share with us her her sister's story, Deanna Cook. I don't know if you guys remember back in 2012. Um, her there was a case. Her sister Deanna was murdered by her ex-husband at that time, and they had very abusive relationship. So we're going to talk about that, and then also um, Deanna's voice, um, and also your business that you have that kind of came from this. And so kind of just how you can find the good within the bad, and how that's going. So we're going to talk with her a little bit in a little bit about that. But prior to that, what was I going? Oh, about the trial. I also wanted to like give a shout out to um, Next Generation, and also Dallas 9. Anybody who was out there shutting down the freeway, who marched at was it AT&T Center when they had the coffin marching out there. If you participated in any of that grassroots action that was happening last year when Amber Guyger was arrested and charged with manslaughter, anything that the public participated in that convinced the uh, the district attorney to go in and recharge her with murder instead of manslaughter. We definitely owe you guys a thanks, because had you not done that, had you been complacent, had you not mobilized, had you not, demanded action, then we would definitely be looking at a different situation. It could have been a situation where she could have been charged with manslaughter and convicted negligent homicide. So we're definitely grateful and thankful to all of our people who are out there making it happen on the ground, putting boots to the ground. Oh, also really quick, hometown shout out to Errol Spence this weekend. Errol Spence, he fought what was his name? Why do I not remember this guy's name? Who did he fight, y'all? Porter. Yeah, Sean Porter. So Errol Spence fought Sean Porter this weekend, and man, when I tell you that fight was like tight, like that was a good fight. He made him fight. Like both of them, and he said during the post fight press conference, he said that he knew he was gonna bring it, and he definitely did. Like Porter, he went back and down it all, and I really feel like if at one point he got a knockdown, Spence did, because he hit him hard and his knees buckled, and I feel like had it not been for that he probably wouldn't have won the fight. Because Spence was lumped up after that fight. I mean, he landed a lot of punches, but I'm not gonna take nothing. I'm not gonna take nothing from Sean Porter at all. So, shout out to Errol Spence. He came out, to Southside the realest. So, y'all know that's my jam. So I was real hyped about that. But he is always carrying this city on his back wherever he goes. He gonna make sure that they know that he's from Dallas. He gonna have a local artist with him. He had on his Rest in Peace Super Dre headband, and then after the fight, he put on his City of Dallas hat. So he's always representing for us. So we just want to shout out to him and say congrats on the win. And what else do we have anything else? No. Yes. So we're gonna jump into we're gonna show a video first, and this is a little bit of footage from a show that aired about the case, Crime Watch show that aired about the case, just to give you guys some context. And we're gonna start it at the 911 tape. So you guys brace yourself. So what you're gonna hear is Deanna Cook, which is Karletha's sister. She is actually on the phone with 911 as she's being murdered by her ex-husband. So we're gonna start the tape there, and then uh, let it play. So just to kind of give you guys some context on the situation.
I met a guy, he was fly. The day of her murder, and we have to warn you, it is terrifying.
Dallas 911, what is your emergency? Hello, do you need police car or ambulance? I need an address.
Deanna is not in a position to talk to the 911 operator. She's being attacked. She's fighting for her life.
What is wrong with you?
And she was angry. But as the call goes on, Deanna becomes far more fearful. And Deanna is petrified.
Please, I'm not doing nothing. Please, baby.
It's clear who was there with her and who was doing this.
Oh yes, it was very clear.
Please, don't take me out. Don't take me out, please. Please, don't take me out. Please. Don't take me out, please.
You hear Del Vecchio talking to her.
What's he saying?
I think he was mocking her.
Del Vecchio is Del Vecchio Patrick, Deanna's enraged ex-husband. He has no idea every second of his brutal attack on Deanna is being recorded on her cell phone in a 911 call.
We're the police. I'm not doing nothing to you. We're the police.
Where's the police now? As though there's nobody here to help you now. Where's the police? And of course, he flat out, I'm gonna kill you.
He says that.
Over and over.
Then, horribly, Del Vecchio Patrick makes good on his sickening threat and chokes the life out of Deanna Cook.
You hear her.
Okay. So that was super heavy. We do want to welcome you again, Miss Karletha Cook, and thank you so much for coming on to the show and like even being willing to share the story. I know it happened back in 2012, but I know it doesn't get any easier to talk about.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm sure watching this and I'm just kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't
doesn't
get better.
it. I actually haven't watched that since it aired, so I purposely try to stay away from it.
Yeah. Wow. But thank you so much for just being willing to come on to talk about, because I feel like this is a lot of this happens a lot, especially in our community, and I feel like it's kind of swept under the rug a lot, and it's kind of, you know, something that we might see, but we don't necessarily speak on, and we kind of leave it up to the victim to make the decision to leave or not. It's like, oh, well, you know, she didn't leave, so, you know, it can't be that bad.
But even to their chances of being murdered by their
Right.
partners, typically when they try to leave, that's when they
And
really
she had
feel bad.
left him, right?
She had left him, yes.
Yeah. So,
so just curiosity though, he already kind of had a history of violence, or
They fought often, so I mean, it was a very volatile relationship. So yeah.
How old was Deanna?
When she died, I want to say 30, 33, 34.
Okay.
I can't really. We're 4 years apart. That was 2012. I'm 35 now. So I think about 33, 34.
she was your big
Yeah.
sister.
She was my older sister, yes.
Did she have like a protective order, anything against her husband?
She did. But we all know that that's just a piece of paper.
Right.
So, but yeah, she did.
And then I feel like sometimes in those relationships, even if they're volatile, it's what you know. And when you really love somebody, you overlook those things. And even too, a lot of it is like mental abuse too, not just physical abuse. So oftentimes people will go back to these people and other people are looking like, well, you should, but it's like literally they can't. It's like you can't help yourself. But this is what you do. This is your person. And then typically, I would assume everyone's gonna change, and then something happens that triggers, and it's like the reoccurring like situation where you're kind of like, okay, we're back here again.
Yeah, I think love is very powerful. And I think I'm not going to say it's blind. I think that you do think that a person,
It's real hopeful.
yeah, is hopeful. That's a really good way to put it. It's really hopeful. Um, and you do think a person is going to change, and that is the person that you love. So
You want them to change.
you
also.
want them to change. And I remember my sister telling me that it was easier to be with him than to always run and hide from him.
Right.
You know, so in those type of relationships, it is difficult to separate yourself, especially when the system isn't there to protect you,
Right.
as they say.
So I wanted to ask how long was their relationship? I know they were married, and I saw the part where your mom said that he started the abuse while they were dating, like when they had just pretty much gotten together. He had started with the abuse, and so your mom said that she felt like she could help him.
Yeah, definitely. My sister was a felon, and so I guess it goes back to understanding how a person thinks, and a person like not wanting to give up on a person because you feel like so many people gave up on you, and then we attract like-minded people. So I want to say that they were together for over 10 years. I know that they knew each other way before they started dating. You know, they were friends. From what I know, I was living in Houston when I first met him. I was just actually visiting, and I met him in a very uncomfortable position. You know, it wasn't like, you know, oh, this is my boyfriend. It was they were arguing and fighting then. That was my introduction to him. So
Okay. And your sister, you have two nieces.
I have two nieces.
Yeah. And how old are they now?
They're both in their early 20s.
Okay.
They're doing really good. Like for them to be able to have had experienced finding their mother in the state that we found her at the age of I think 12 and 13, and to go on through life and not have. I mean, I can't imagine what they're going through. But one is at Tennessee State on a scholarship. The other one is a licensed esthetician. So they're living, you know, and not making that be an excuse to.
Right, because they could, you know.
They could, but probably having having that family,
Support
having you
system.
guys there, that support system, it definitely probably fills a lot of the voids.
We have a very small family, you know, close knit. So the main people that found her was her sister, her mom, and her daughters.
Right,
So it was about sticking together with that.
so what you couldn't see was so 2 days prior to you guys finding her in the house was when she made the 911 phone call. And so allegedly the police said that they came to the house 50 minutes later after she placed the call. 50 minutes later they showed up, knocked on the door, nobody came to the door, so they left, right?
Right.
And so prior to that she had made thousands of phone calls to the police about him. She called the day before saying that he was sitting outside of her house, stalking her, watching her in the heat. He's out there sweating in the car watching her. She made all of these calls to the police, and the police did not prioritize the calls at all.
Right.
And it could, and I'm pretty sure it was because of the area that she lived in, that she was African American. It was, you know, probably a lot of reasons as to why the calls got rerouted, and it wasn't. And also during that time, 911 had not had the overhaul that it had after this incident happened. So this wasn't like it was something that was hidden. This was well known that he was abusive and that she had a situation and had a protective order, and it still wasn't good enough to protect her. And he ended up coming into the house and murdering her. And then you guys came 2 days later and saw the water coming out of the garage, and that was the water from the running bathtub where he had her in.
I think her house was probably 3 bedrooms. And still, like, forgive me, because I can talk about it. I've talked about it for years, but every time I talk about it, it's the memory of it.
Yeah.
But I just remember I was coming back from vacation. My mom picked me up from the airport. My nieces and my mom were coming back from church. And before they would take me to my car, they said we had to go and check on her. Got there, called 911. 911 refused to come and help us. So I ended up kicking in the back door because the water was coming out the front driveway garage, and then when we went to the back, the rug was soaked. So the water had been running for days. It filled up the house, you know. So
Yeah, that is so unfortunate. It's crazy. So
So from all of this, you all have been in court fighting it, and then out of it came Deanna's voice. The what does Deanna's voice, or what has Deanna's voice done since the murder of your sister? How have you all helped?
So we started Deanna's Voice because we felt like her voice was taken from her.
Right.
I mean, on that call, you hear her screaming for help, and no one came to help her. So we started to think about how many other women were suffering in silence. And so we've done events, we've raised money, we've done a scholarship fund and things like that. But what I found is that it's hard to heal coming from a place of pain. And it's hard to help other people heal when you're trying to teach them from your pain versus the process of healing.
Right.
So I stepped back from the foundation and started focusing on my healing process, and my little sister in New York has taken over. But we've done the Power 5K run. We did an event called Dallas Art in Motion that I'm a yogi, so I found yoga through my pain. And we ended up having a couple of yogis, you know, painted and depicted in love and pain and the things that come from relationships. That was a very nice event. We've done a scholarship fund. And pretty much we did lots of, like, that show airs over and over again. And we're always getting, I know that I respond to a lot of messages still on Facebook of victims or victims' families that's just asking what to do. And my advice is to never isolate them. You guys talked about earlier.
That's the abuser's number. That's their thing. They prey on that, and they'll make you feel like, yeah, no, you can't trust anyone. And then that's how they. So even too, you're almost dying, but you're keeping it all to yourself.
And it gets frustrating to your loved ones because you feel like they should know better, and why do you keep going back? And then what happens is they end up in a situation where they're no longer comfortable around their loved ones, and that's when the isolation starts. So I'm always just giving advice and responding to messages about, you know, just continue to love. I always like let them know that you're always there. It's not he can't come around, because that's how we felt. We felt like we didn't want him around, and then what started to happen in their marriage, it was like, okay, well, if he can't come, I can't come. And so I don't recommend isolation. It's different things that the foundation is doing on the back end with relationships, because domestic violence is a very private conversation. It's very embarrassing. It has no racial barriers. It has no age barrier. Like, so many people are suffering in silence from it, and that's where the whole Deanna's Voice comes from.
Your sister, I know that she's taken up law, right? Has she already started her practice?
Oh yeah, my sister's a lawyer in New York, Felicia Battle. Shout out to my sister. She passed the Texas State Bar, so I hope she comes home eventually. But she's loving New York, and she's practicing right now.
Did her pursuit of her law degree come from this tragedy?
It comes from my older sister. My older sister, like I said, she was a felon, and this whole battle in this relationship has lasted for so long, and her frustration was that the police would never help her. And so my younger sister, being young and seeing this, said she wanted to be a lawyer from like a young age, just to try to, you know, from seeing like that the system can fail a lot of us. So.
And so, just to piggyback off of that, there was 911 reform that came after this incident happened with your sister. So Police Chief David Brown, at that point, he was the police chief at that time back in 2012, and he said initially that, you know, there's nothing wrong with the 911 system, and, you know, it wasn't an issue, but subsequently it was decided that the 911 system, as well as the city of Dallas, had failed her in by not prioritizing calls, overworking 911 staff, being understaffed, there was also an incident that happened after this that wasn't even related. It was like a house fire incident that happened, and so the people were calling 911 and being placed on hold for long amounts of time, and so that coupled with Deanna's case led to the complete overhaul of 911 here in Dallas. So they fired all of the supervisors over there. They brought in new staff. They changed the response time. So now when people call 911, the domestic issues get prioritized. You get higher response times. There's a lot more people working. They increase the salary of the workers that work over there. So that came, but when the court case that was filed with the city claimed sovereign immunity during.
Yeah, they actually threw our case out. So our case is still currently in appeals court. And they raised the fees for the lawyers during some, like, it was just crazy because he did admit that the system failed her.
Right.
But I guess they won't admit it, in court. So we're still fighting for that. But I am thankful for the reforms and the fact that if someone does call and there's no response at the door, that they can kick the door down and things like that. Because I really do feel like if they would have kicked her door down, they would have found him still in there, and she probably would have been saved. So I am thankful for that, but we haven't given up on the case. It's still in appeals court. Mm-hmm. We're not going to give up on the case. And so,
I mean, the city of Dallas has spent like upward of $350,000, like litigating the case, just to say we don't owe you anything. We're not going to say that we're wrong, and that's crazy because in cases where if the police do something wrongful, then they got to cut a check. If a city trash truck hits your car, they got to cut a check. Like, why is it that you can acknowledge fault on one hand but not necessarily in the other when it comes to you being accountable? So
the officers actually, when they got the call, they wrote that they stopped at 7-Eleven to get water before they came to her home. So I mean, it's very hurtful, especially to our family. But at the same time, like I said, we're not done fighting the case, and it's still a major issue of domestic violence as a whole. So,
and October is the month of domestic violence. One of Dallas local rap artists, your friend, I believe, Lady Savage,
yes.
She did a video that was dedicated to your sister. Mm-hmm. I have it. And I'm going to play some of it. And then when we come back, we can talk about your healing process and how you started to push through wellness. And what it does in the community.
So shout out Lady Savage, Far Away.
To see another child.
I met a guy, he was flying, had this smile, he was a charmer. Conversation worthwhile, I dug his style. Made everyone laugh when he was around. Great with kids, an entertainer, told jokes even if he was lacking the crowd. I was proud to call him mines, we already thinking vows. No more what we on the prowl, we think it's settling down. Wow, when he around, it's going down. Plus he a clown, made me chuckle when I wasn't feeling good to choke up a smile. I was looking for that who could he be and found that aisle. Heart pure as a cell before it's brought into a child. We forever, we together, long as you got me, we good. My family don't understand, they not inside looking out. I'm blessed to have you present and pregnant with our first child. You right, I'm thinking, don't tell my people, they'll find out. You can't see no one else with me, the feeling is mutual. P.S. it's cute when you get jealous, that tells me you really care.
I know you love me, I know you care, 'cause you told me you love me, and you'll always be there. you feel so far away? Why do 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 you feel so far away?
Dear diary, today baby been making different moves, switching pretty quickly, viciously in his feelings. Well, no, maybe it's me overreacting what I figured. Drifting into the thought as you flipping, I just don't get it. I'm sorry for whatever it is, I wish I could fix it. Throwing fits and B's and H's in my face until you kill it. Every feeling and image that I had first envisioned before I start experiencing wickedness with no limit. While my spirit feel midget, my mind and heart is in prison. You turn around and hurt me, then tell me you didn't mean it. You always.
Welcome to Push Through Wellness.
Oh, it's a video.
Yes, it's a video.
Welcome to Push Through. My name is Karletha.
You'll be with us on the show tonight on 30 Something Podcast, right?
October 1st, we talking about my journey to healing from losing my sister to domestic violence, and I just got over it. So, I'm excited. That's right.
Yeah, we can't wait to see you.
Nice.
Bye.
Hey, so we're back. So Push Through Wellness, that actually spawned off from your own healing process. So it wasn't anything you thought of before, but going through this, and trying to heal and finding something to grasp on. That's how you started the Push Through Nutrition Wellness program.
Yes. When this happened, I was working in corporate America. And the day that we found her, I remember it was chaotic, right? My nieces are running around. And it's funny now when I think back, because I just wanted a hug from somebody, and nobody wanted to touch anybody. But I was like, somebody just hug me. And
Please.
and nobody wanted to. It was really, really bad. And I just remember going outside and rocking on this car and just thinking, why did we find her? And I've always been the type to just like wonder, like, you guys, you were the purpose-driven life, and then you read it and you're still like, I still don't get it. Like, what's the? You didn't tell me anything. So I kind of knew that it was something bigger behind us finding her 3 generations. Her daughters, her sisters, and her mom. So I ended up leaving corporate America, and not just quitting, but like leaving and not going back, not looking for a job. What happened was I went from alcohol to sleep. I kind of like pushed all my pain down.
Like different vices, kind of.
It mainly was alcohol.
Like,
because I was just the sister, and we started this foundation. It went so fast, and I remember not being able to grieve, not being able to cry, because I feel like if I cried, then I got custody of one of my nieces. My younger sister got custody of the other for like a year, and then they ended up staying with me. And I just remember not wanting to cry around them.
Being strong for everyone else, and you want everyone to see you.
Right. And so I never really healed. And so I would drink to go to sleep. And I remember going to my doctor and telling my doctor I didn't want to be an alcoholic. But I couldn't sleep. I couldn't get that smell out of my nose, but I couldn't. It was just like the more I complained, I just felt bad because I still had my mom, and and I didn't lose a daughter like my mom lost a daughter. So my doctor gave me Ambien, and Ambien would put me to sleep, but I would get up at nighttime and not remember what I did.
Sleepwalking?
Ambien does it.
And it would freak me out because I would get up. When I did wake up, I was like, dang, I got up last night, but what did I do? And so, it's amazing how when you're seeking something, you find it. And a friend of mine in corporate America told me his girlfriend I saw her doing a handstand or something. And I just was like, what is she doing? And he was like, yoga. And I said, well, I do yoga. That's not yoga. Right. And he was like, yes, it is. And so he ended up introducing me to her. She introduced me to Ashtanga yoga, which was power yoga. And I'm an athlete. So I needed something that would take my mind away from the moments. And at the time, like sitting, being still, and just breathing was not something that I could do. Yeah. I hadn't trained my mind enough, or that muscle in my brain to do that. And so I remember trying it. I remember thinking it was torture. But at the same time, when I was trying to breathe or hold these positions, I wasn't thinking about life. And so I ended up no longer taking Ambien, no longer taking medication at all because I hate to be addicted to things like that.
Yeah.
And then quitting corporate America, deciding that I was going full time in the foundation and running the foundation and being a yoga instructor. Became a broke yoga instructor because yogis don't make that much money. Especially in our community, we're just now being exposed to it, you know? So, and honestly, guys, I didn't want to charge for yoga. It was more like that changed my life, so I just wanted to learn more about it. And everybody was like, why won't you teach it? And I was just like, I really don't want to, but I need to make some money. So that's how I got into yoga. Ended up finding the health and wellness industry, becoming a mindfulness instructor and things like that, just through relationships and the journey. The journey being seek and you shall find, right? So ended up running into a place wanting to teach yoga, having one of these teas because I was taking naps every day because I was super tired, and going to an event where I was inspired by just wellness as a whole. And I used to train people in yoga that wanted to lose weight, but I couldn't teach them about the nutrition part of it because I really didn't know anything about it. But I understood that what you put in your body affects everything: your blood sugar level, your attitude, your mood, all of that. And so what happened is it just kind of meshed together, total mind and body wellness. And ended up working out of a place in DeSoto with shake teas and yoga. And then always wanting to pour into my community, but not knowing how. And then went to another event where I was inspired to open my own place in Oak Cliff. And then when I thought about Oak Cliff, it's a food desert. That's where we grew up. So I teach yoga there as well. Just introducing it to our community in a place where it's needed, where people are in pain mentally, physically, all of the above, and just having another route to deal with our emotions.
Those vices.
Right. So that's where Push Through Wellness came from. As I grew, I learned that you don't push, you allow. But you definitely have to keep going in order to get to wherever you're trying to go in life. So that's where the name came from. And I really remember thinking of a name, but I was just like, what have you been doing? You've been pushing through. And it's like, okay, let's go. So yeah, that's what came. I actually came up with Push Through Coaching prior to even opening this, and that was the mindfulness and the yoga and things like that. And then the wellness just came apart with it, and the nutrition. So yeah.
So if you know someone that wants to get into doing yoga, of course, you have where can they find you in your services since you're in our community?
I'm at 3911 South Lancaster Road, right at the corner of Lancaster and Garza. If you're from Oak Cliff, I'm across the street from the old fish market. My granny used to go there all the time. I'm in between the VA hospital and Rudy's Chicken.
I know exactly where you are.
So if you go to the VA, you went too far. So Ann Arbor and Overton, in between those two places. I also do drop-ins. I teach at some schools. I have contracts and stuff with different schools and athletes. But yes, Push Through Coaching. That's where you can find me.
Do you have social media?
Push Through Coaching. That's where you can find me. Push Through Wellness Studio. Push Through Coaching on Instagram, and Carly Yoga as well on both of those places.
And do you couple that with? Do you specifically couple that with people who've experienced trauma in particular, or is it just kind of whatever that person needs at that time?
The ironic part, and it's just my opinion, I think we've all experienced trauma in some kind of way, and so how do we release it? That's where the yoga comes in, and the breathing techniques and things like that. Like, my experience and what I consider trauma is different from what you may consider trauma, right? And so we're all holding on to something, and so it all incorporates together.
I think, yeah, you did. I think that it was really cool to watch your journey because when you first started, you would just start these live videos and you would practice your yoga moves before you became a professional. Then a year or two passed, and then I see you doing crazy stuff, and I'm like, how is she even doing this pose now? But your dedication to it, and I I really didn't get to experience the part where you were going through, the traumatic part of it. But what I see you as now, and the posts that I see, even the writings that you do on each cup that you serve, because you all have a bar. Is that what it is?
It's a nutrition bar, yes.
We have to roll through that.
Yes.
What are the hours?
7:30 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. We're closed on Thursday. We open back up at 6 p.m. because we do free workouts. We do free fit camps at 6 Mondays and Tuesdays. And then Friday 7:30 to 2. Saturday and Sunday 12 to 3.
So the cups, and then even through our brief conversations, you're always like, "Hey, beautiful," and it's like always uplifting and empowering. So I think that it's just amazing what you're doing, what you brought to Oak Cliff, and even though you probably don't think that you're well, I know that you're helping people, but you were saying that you don't deal necessarily with people who are that have experienced domestic violence. I think that
I deal with them. Yeah, that's what I was saying with the messages and things that we get from Deanna's voice. I still deal with them. I just don't. It's difficult to even watch her like tapes and sounds and things. So imagine someone telling you a story and they're crying to you, and then you start crying too.
Yeah.
It's
Takes
like
you back.
it's like I just think that I have to be strong enough, but I do. My cup has to be completely filled and overflown before I can offer, that kind of So it's like I talk about it all the time, but to say that that's what I do, that's not where I want to be.
Yeah,
I
because
think
you can. It's easy to get stuck in that space.
It is very easy to get stuck
because
in that space.
it's real, and it's something that happened. It's something that somebody can't tell you. Hey, you can't feel like this, or you can't put a time limit on something like that.
Right.
And so it's like you have to. It has to be like incumbent upon you to say, okay, I've been in this space, long enough today. So, I have to vacate the space and, move your just for your own sanity.
That's absolutely right. It's funny you bring up my yoga journey because you guys, I learned yoga on Instagram and YouTube.
You can learn anything on YouTube.
The videos that I would put up would be a challenge that I found on Instagram. Yeah. And if you just search yoga challenge on Instagram, they'll show you the poses that you're supposed to do each day, and then tell you how to do them. And that's what I would do. And the only reason I got certified was because I was doing these things and learning these words that I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And it wasn't to teach yoga. It was really like to educate myself a little bit more on what I was loving so much. And it just kind of happened that way. So you asked me, how did I get started in yoga? Yeah. I skipped that part.
It's okay.
So after this tragedy, do you live life more intentionally? Like everything is, you experience, you take it in, and you appreciate it a lot more these days?
Everything. Relationships are different for me now because you never know when it's going to end. I learned from all of my relationships, even the ones that I feel are hurtful. I try to see what lesson is. I just really think that God always puts us in a situation to grow in whatever way it is. If it's growing from pain or growing from love, like growth is always like getting to the next level. I think that when you stop doing that, you die. Like that's not life. So everything that I've done, even from writing on the cups, I got that from when I worked in DeSoto at the healthy spot, so it's always been.
I thought of them when you said that.
Yeah, so that's where I started. So of course it was inspirational for me, so I wanted to be inspirational for someone else. Now the long quotes, because we should just write beautiful and things like that, but I took it because it's about pushing through the pain. So I'll write like long quotes on the cups, and they're always, it's crazy, I'll pick one up and someone's like, "Oh my God, how did you know?"
Yeah,
it's like I didn't know, it was for you.
And it's awesome just to like change the trajectory of somebody's day, because that's literally all it takes. Sometimes it's like you come in with a funky attitude about something, and completely unaware of your disposition, and you read something and it just stops. You have to stop for a second, and and you can kind of redirect you know, that person.
It's unexpected in that neighborhood for someone to walk in and then to feel so inspired. It's like, you're here. And it's like, yeah, like we're right here. And we're right around the corner. And we're Oak Cliff too. And, you know, so.
And we do yoga.
And we do yoga.
And we do yoga in Oak Cliff. Yes, we do.
So yeah, it's pretty amazing. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the journey. I'm thankful for everything. I think if I wouldn't have found my sister, I wouldn't have found yoga. I wouldn't have found push through. Nothing would have happened. I probably was still working in corporate America with a bad attitude and impulsive thoughts and angry.
Right.
So I just look at it different now.
You have like a beautiful perspective, period.
Yeah.
Like you walk in, she's beautiful on the outside and on the inside, you guys.
Thank you so much. And pain can do that to you.
And just, go ahead.
I was just gonna say before we come to a close, but if you have something before that.
Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to, and not to, you know, it all make you relive the situation, but just for people who might, since it's National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, if there was like just a token or a piece of advice that you could give to someone who's in a domestic violence situation and they may not, or, you know, something, you know, that you wish you would have told your sister or anything like that, what would that one thing be?
I'm here. I think that was the hardest thing for me to get over, is that I kind of felt like I was one of those people who didn't want him around, so she didn't come around. And I feel like if she knew that she had a place to go, that when she was ready to go, regardless of how many other times she went back, she knew that she could get away. You know, I think that's the most important thing. Like when a person is dealing with domestic violence, they don't do it alone. And when a person suffers from domestic violence, their family becomes victims too, especially when they die. And so I can't tell a person to love themselves more. I can't, like, I've tried. That's why I kind of, it was like, how do I get you to just see? And it's not about me getting you to see. It's just about me offering my hand and letting you know that you're not alone on this journey. So
It's pretty much kind of the same thing I was gonna
follow
with. I was just gonna ask, because I know that your sister had young daughters, and I'm always concerned with the younger women that are coming up, and just different signs or different things that they should look for before they even get into a relationship that's too difficult for them to get out of. And I know I have younger cousins, and I always gave them advice. So I would ask you, what's something that you teach or talk to your nieces about that you would want to share, or that you feel is important or critical with them going from being young ladies to women?
The amazing part is that my sister was a great mother. So they respected her and they saw her struggle and they saw all of that. So they kind of already, when I got them, they already had this. Yeah. So the only thing that I would tell them is like the whole air boxing thing with guys, like I would, you know, I don't agree with that, because it takes away the femininity of a guy seeing you as a woman, and that's, you know, so girls will get out there and, you know, try to box with the guys and things, and it's like, don't do that. And then little stuff like bro, like when they boyfriends used to call them bro, I used to just say like, why can't he say sis if he gonna call you bro? And they'd be like, sis? I'm like, you're not a boy, you're not, like, they need to see you as what you are. I think a lot of times there's this gender role reversal kind of thing that's going on in our community that makes them kind of lost. So my advice to them, my nieces were very, very smart, and they had experienced a lot with my sisters. Yeah. So my job was just to, you know, put the icing on the cake and finish them off. But ultimately, that's pretty much it. Just how you're treated.
But would you tell a girl that don't ever feel like you can save someone from themselves? Because I think a lot of times as women, we get in situations like we can save someone when sometimes like they don't even know that they need to be saved, and they don't recognize their issues as being actual issues, and you end up drowning, you know, with them in their pain and everything that they've gone through. So
I don't know. I think that I don't know.
Like,
yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't. I don't know. I don't want to tell anybody that, and I don't want. It's just. It's.
I'm just asking
it's
because I
situational.
don't. Yeah, I'm not sure.
When I have a daughter, or if I have a daughter, I'm just going to treat my daughter like a queen, and I'm going to tell her things and talk to her about what a woman is supposed to, how a woman is supposed to carry herself, regardless of what, the whole stereotype. Like we are supposed to be protected and
right.
Femininity.
Yes, it's not about. I don't know. I think it's a different situation for different people. I'm never going to tell somebody not to like have hope and to try to assist to help somebody out. But I think when it comes to abuse in any kind of way, verbal, mental, physical, then that should be something that you really, really take heed to and be careful with. That's it. The abuse part is what I would be very, very like, no, like how he talks to you, the things that he says, but also women, our young girls, how we're carrying ourselves and what we're teaching our little girls and what we're passing down to our little girls. They should understand what it means to be a young lady too. So I have a young boy, so I'm dealing with little girls. He's 13.
Oh, wow.
So little girls that's doing little things that I would just be like, come on now, like where's your mom? Like he's 13 and you're sending him this kind of stuff. It's like, so
wow.
It's a thin line, and
it's
I'm
a complete
careful with
science.
right, and that's what I have a little boy.
What's that conversation like?
It's literally.
I have a 15-year-old girl. She has two teenage girls, and the conversation is, I'm sure, pretty different.
Yeah, I don't want my son to end up in a situation that I think y'all don't want y'all little girls to end up in.
Right.
And so it's about him being respectful, period. And a lot of young women are not respecting themselves. And I think it's because they're not taught to.
I think some of that comes from self-esteem and things like that. And kind of even that double backs on double backs. If we double back to warning signs too, sometimes you have low self-esteem, and that'll have you in a relationship with somebody that's possessive, that feels they own you. And then because you come from a background, maybe you didn't get love, you didn't feel love.
There you go.
You out looking for love. And so that person, that possessiveness, that makes you feel like they care. Someone really cares. And then that's where the toxicity comes in. That's where the dysfunction comes in. Because this person, again, that's not really love. That's something else. That's ownership. And those are, to me, I would say that would be something to stay clear from. I think even like everyone, my girls are spoiled, but I came from a background where I didn't really always feel received, or there were a lot of things that I went without. So even for me, that's like my overcompensation. Like there's nothing no one can do for you. All the love you need
your
is
mama
here.
got it right here.
I got it all me. I got it. Your daddy got it. Not your grandma got it. Don't worry. You're going to be whole, damn it. If not, you go to therapy. But
I think it's very psychological, and I think it's very important for our young women to have a very positive, influential male figure in their life.
Definitely.
Like, I grew up and knowing my dad. I had a dad. I knew my dad. My dad was in my life.
Yeah.
So I've never been the type that needed attention from a guy.
Yeah.
So I can't say the same for my sister. I can't say the same. So insecurities plays a major part in that, and I think it's situational. I think it's very situational, so I can't like speak on just one.
Yeah, it's so great. It's so great.
So,
but we want to thank you again so much for coming in and sharing your sister's story, and also how you kind of turned things around and for yourself, and just found the good within it, and your energy is wonderful, your spirit is great, and it's just a testament to show that whatever happens to you, it can either be a crutch or a catalyst. That's what I always tell people. It can be a crutch or a catalyst. You can use it to hold you back or propel you forward, and you've definitely propelled yourself forward. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Tell me how we visit later in the month, and then we're going to do this.
What are we doing later in the month? Oh, revisiting the National Domestic Violence. We're going to be talking about this again a little bit later in the month. Just to continue the conversation in a different perspective. So we'll have that, and then what else we have? The viewers. Oh yes. So we're having the viewers, y'all.
I'm sleeping. I ain't had no coffee, no nothing today. So we're
Go
having
by and get you some tea.
I'm gonna come by and see you for real because you're not far from me. So we're having viewers choice, and so if you want to come on the show with us, all you have to do is, what do you want to send a photo? Yeah, send us a photo in our inbox and tell us what you want to talk about. That's simple. And what is the date for Viewers Voice? Is it 22nd?
Yeah, it's open 22nd.
Yeah, and so it's October 22nd. If you're free, October 22nd at 8:30. And you can come up here to the studio and sit in with us on 30 something podcast. So just send us a photo and tell us what you want to talk about. We will see y'all next Tuesday. Have a good night.
Good night, you guys.
Thank you, ladies. So
Thank
much.
you.
I really enjoyed it. Okay.